Hi, this is Chris Marchand of Between the Songs podcast. I'm here with Joe Cook to tell you about another podcast we've created, and we hope, if you've enjoyed Between the Songs, that you'll enjoy this one too.
It's called Nostalgic Future Podcast, and that's what it's all about. Chris and I dive deep into our nostalgia, all the pop culture stuff that we grew up with, and we examine how it's influenced our lives and how that continues today and into the future.
So join us for fun discussions about some of our favorite movies, television shows, music, books. Really, nothing is off limits. We even have special guests on from time to time to talk about some of their nostalgic obsessions.
Check out Nostalgic Future Podcast, available now on all the big podcasting apps, and you can also follow us on social media. It's Nostalgic Future Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and we're at Past Future Pod on Twitter.
Nostalgic Future Podcast, where the past is the only way forward. Welcome to Rich Mullins Between the Songs podcast. This is another bonus episode featuring the St. Rich Beard Oil story and an exclusive interview with Matt Walden, the creator, the inventor of the St. Rich Beard Oil, and also an interview with Matt featuring his account and his take on Andrew Peterson's Liturgy, A Legacy, and a Ragamuffin Band tribute concert that just happened at the Ryman in Nashville this past week. So we're happy to be able to have this interview with Matt. And I do happen to have Joe on the phone with me through the my scratchy speakerphone. Hi, Joe. How's it going?
Hey, Chris. Going good. How about you?
I'm doing fine. Unfortunately, neither you or I were at Andrew Peterson's tribute concert. We were just lame dudes just sitting at home, resting after our Window Rock tribute concert.
Yes, though. Yeah, and you know what killed me too was because I thought I could deal with it because you and I both got offered opportunities to the event.
I got offered a free ticket. You got offered free tickets, didn't you?
I sure did, and considered it. I decided to stay home and crash for a couple days, and then Sunday night happened, and the live stream came up, and I got to see some of the concert, and I'm sure, like you, I totally regretted not being there.
Yeah, I wanted to be there. My wife and we had an old friend that was married up in Chicago, and so I was happy with my weekend. It was good spending some time with my wife. But yeah, you're right. Sunday night came around, and I realized way too late that they were streaming the concert. But I a few of the videos I've been able to see some of the songs, and boy, it looked like a really great, just a well done show. So, but we weren't there, and that's all right.
Yeah, well, we'll live.
We'll live. So here's what's going to happen. We will go to Matt Walden's interview, but first, what we wanted to share with you was my portrayal. My depiction of Matt Walden's St. Rich Beard Oil story. Matt wrote something really quite extensive, and it's on the Between the Songs podcast website. If you go to the St. Rich Beard Oil page, you can read the whole thing. The whole story is crazy. It's kind of nuts. And it's wonderful to hear some of that. And when we talk with Matt, it's wonderful to hear some of that from him. But I was actually able to embody Matt a little bit and to do a full long ad. It's almost like an infomercial for St. Rich Beard Oil. It extends out to infomercial length. And so that's what we wanted to share with you now. And after that, we'll go to our interview with Matt. Now, our true official sponsor of the Rich Mullins Between the Songs.
This is legit, yo.
This is legit. Is by St. Rich's Beard Oil. Yes, St. Rich's Beard Oil. This is a new venture put together by someone named Matt Walden. Okay, hi Matt, thank you. I assume you're listening to this in some capacity. Matt is actually a professional sound guy. He does like production and lights and sound. I don't know what he does, but he's a relatively renowned sound person.
Like Matt works like in the big leagues.
He does. He does like Passion conferences and David Crowder concerts.
Third Day.
Well, these are pretty big productions. I mean, yeah, I don't exactly. I can't. I used to do like youth group stuff, and like we were like thinking about lights, but Matt does the real deal. Okay, so Matt actually has begun a little bit of a business venture called St. Rich's Beard Oil, and he gives us a story, and I'm going to read part of that here to you now. So that we're not going to do this every episode, but I did want to give the origin story of St. Rich's Beard Oil, and it's a real thing. It's actually
exists.
Beard oil, and Matt's sincere about it. Okay, so here you go. So Matt says, I have a beard, and it's not your average beard. It takes an awful lot to tame this furry friend living on my face. Most people think that people with a beard are lazy because they don't shave every day. While it's true that shaving hasn't been a part of my morning ritual for quite some time, my morning consists of other rituals people without a beard simply have no clue about, like the fact that I condition my beard every day. And I stand in the shower naked, you're welcome for the visual, for 5 minutes, waiting for this magical combination of ingredients to untangle the wild, magnificent beast hanging from my face. Upon exiting the shower, I dry my beard, then dive into an assortment of beard brushes, combs, lotions, balms, and yes, beard oil. Lazy? Not me. I've heard it said that some people just aren't meant to have beards, and they are called women and children. If you think it's okay for a man to shave, I'd agree with you, but then we'd both be wrong. I digress. Back to the beard oil, the St. Rich beard oil story. I live in Houston, Texas, and I used beard oil from a company called Dream Beard out of Atlanta, Georgia for years. I always had a couple of bottles of beard oil in my cabinet, and I regularly gave it away to bearded friends who needed some. You can tell Matt's a nice guy. But one time, while I was on the road, one of my friends ran out, and since I wasn't available to give him a bottle, he didn't know where to buy more, and he got the bright idea to make his own. Upon my return, he bestowed upon me the first bottle he had created, to which I promptly replied, oh, he cusses here. Should I cuss? I don't want to cuss. Matt, you cuss.
You want me to bleep it out for you?
No, I'll just bleep it.
I meant right now. I'd like to do the bleep.
Oh, you bleep right now. This is what Matt said to his friend. If my beard falls out, I'm going to kick your
bleep.
All right. I tried his beard oil, and I'm pleased to say my beard didn't fall out. It got me thinking, though, that maybe I could make a beard oil that smells the way I want to smell, and not the way some company thinks I should. He's independent, this Matt. I started researching how to make beard oil and looking into the benefits of different ingredients on your beard, skin, etc. I got in touch with one of the guys at Dream Beard, this company that he mentioned before, who was extremely helpful and supportive of me diving into this new adventure. Matt still uses some Dream Beard products, okay? He went shopping. I'll say yes.
By the way, Dream Beard is not a sponsor of this program.
Yeah, but you can be. Well, wait, no, they can't be. That would be competitive.
That wouldn't be fair.
Non-compete clause. Okay. All right, back to Matt's story. I went shopping for all the ingredients I wanted to use to make my own beard oil and started the process of trial and error. Some mixtures were too thin, others didn't seem to have the desired effect. Eventually, I thought I had settled on my formula and took a bottle to my friend who had given me a bottle of his own blend a few months earlier. He loved it, but I couldn't be sure if he really liked it or if he was telling me it was great because he's one of my best friends. So I decided to expand my testing to some of the bands I work for. Bands who contain some of the most fantastical bearded gentlemen this planet has ever seen. This has to be David Crowder. I don't know. There's other bearded people out there.
Yeah.
Lots of bearded musicians.
Yeah, who's the guy from Skillet?
The Skillet guy's bearded.
He's got a...
John something or other?
Yeah. I don't remember his name, but he's got a nice beard.
Mac Powell's sometimes bearded.
Sometimes. He goes back and forth.
Back and forth. My first tester, again continues Matt, from outside Houston. Oh, was Mac Powell! Ah! I got it right. Okay, from the band Third Day.
You totally blew the story.
No, I did.
Spoiler.
I spoiled your story, Matt. In December of 2014, I was on the road with Third Day and Stephen Curtis Chapman on their Christmas tour. When Mac used it,
Chapman had a nice beard for a while.
Did he?
He did for a couple years.
He's a baby face. I don't know. It doesn't work. Stephen Curtis, no. Maybe I don't know. Okay. He said though, Mac said, if I could just figure out how to get some cigarette smoke in there, it would smell just like Rich Mullins. The beard oil I had created was heavily patchouli-based along with other ingredients, and Rich was known for wearing patchouli. So, the comment made me laugh. As I made subsequent bottles, I began putting a piece of fluorescent gaff tape on the bottles with the words St. Rich on them. Almost 20 years after his death, Rich is still a regular topic of conversation during late-night tour bus conversations. St. Rich is how he's often referred to on the road, in a tongue-in-cheek way. We all know Rich was no saint, but that's the beauty of the story. God did incredible things with an incredibly flawed individual. As the beard oil made its rounds, word started to get out. People I'd never met in the music business started asking for bottles of St. Rich. One of the members of the band, Crowder, gave a bottle to Andrew Peterson when he went in for the photo shoot for his Burning Edge of Dawn album cover.
See, he goes back and forth on the beard, Peterson does.
But we'll get. If you look at some of his newer photos, he's doing the beard. He's rocking it.
He is, and I saw him last year. No beard.
No beard. Peterson. Okay. Well, Mr. Peterson fell in love with the beard oil and had to get more. At this time, I decided to design a label. I called a friend of mine named Scott Erickson and commissioned him to make a painting about St. Rich that I could turn into a logo label for the beard oil. Yes.
The label's brilliant, by the way.
It's a brilliant. It looks like an icon, like a church icon, but it's an icon of St. Mullins, St. Rich. All right. Yeah. If it makes you uncomfortable, well, don't buy the beard oil. All right. All right. I already own.
But if your beard is uncomfortable, you may want to buy
the beard oil. It's for you. It's for your beard. I already own several pop art pieces of this Scott Erickson, the artist, where he took people from movies and film and drew them as icons, along with a golden halo and a clever play on words. For all of you Lost fans out there, I'm the proud owner of the original paintings used in Chris Say's book, The Gospel According to Lost, of St. Charlie, the patron saint of repentant rock star drug addicts, and St. John Locke. I have no idea what he's talking about. The patron saint...
you didn't watch Lost.
I didn't. Is this Lost stuff?
Oh, this is Lost stuff, dude.
Yeah, I was watching other things.
I was watching Lost.
I was watching Community. I don't know. Whatever. Okay, we're getting close to being done on this long advertisement. Okay.
The sound effects, by the way, are provided by your kitty cat over there.
Can you hear my cat playing in the background? He's playing with stuff. Okay. So, he spent a lot of time painting the St. Rich, the patron saint of ragamuffins. Duh. Which is now proudly hanging in my living room. You can view all the paintings by appointment anytime you're in Houston. I've seen the paintings on Facebook. This is Chris talking. And they are quite impressive. I will come to your house and steal your St. Rich icon, and it will be mine. No, I won't do that. But I would love to visit your house sometime. So, again, for Matt, I turned it into a logo and started getting those put-on bottles I was making. I sent a few to Andrew Peterson, and he posted a pic to Instagram, and that kind of blew the cover of my favorite hobby.
I remember that post.
So
it was huge.
Andrew Peterson put it out there into the public water. Okay, so guess what? Says Matt. I started getting contacted by people asking how they could buy it, and my answer had always been the same: it's not for sale. It's something I do because I enjoy it, and I give it away to my friends.
You tease you.
You know, Matt is a busy guy. He doesn't have time to really start a beard oil business. But, nonetheless, he says, I've never made a dime off of this. He doesn't do it for a profit. He says it's a big joke that's gone way too far.
And yet, we contacted Matt because we felt like there would not be a more appropriate and better sponsor for this little project that we're putting together than St. Rich's beard oil. And I like to, and now there's a website up. It's available, and you're going to give all the details on that. But I have to say, Chris, that I'm really proud of us because I think we really lit the fire under his bleep.
Yes.
to make this happen.
Yes. We asked Matt, would you be one of our sponsors? And Matt gave us the answer that he gave Andrew Peterson, which is, this is a joke that's gone too far, but you know what? Your podcast sounds fun. I would love to contribute. And so here's what Matt says. He's not going to keep a single penny of any profits that he makes on the St. Rich's beard oil. Instead, he is going to give to a local ministry in the Houston area. It's called Adore Ministries, and you can check out adoreministries.com. Now here's what he says. You can find St. Rich Beard Oil on Facebook or email Matt directly at beard@adoreministries.com. Beard. Yeah, you know how to spell that, right? At adoreministries.com. Or you can email Matt at his own website, which is for his sound company, shoelessman.com. Okay, just go to shoelessman.com, find out how to do the contact page on that website, and then you can get a hold of Matt. Here's what he says. We will figure out a way for you to pay by either PayPal or mailing. Okay? Mailing a check to him the old-fashioned way. This is still a hobby of Matt's. He travels a lot. So please don't expect to get a bottle the very next day or maybe even the next week. He is not an Amazon Prime warehouse that is shipping out thousands of bottles a day. Nonetheless, he will get you a bottle of St. Rich's beard oil.
Label and all.
The label and all. You know, you might just want to buy 2 bottles. One to put on your shelf and look pretty, and one to use on your very, very long beard.
Luxurious beard.
Yeah. I happen to have a beard. It's not very long.
But it's coming in nicely.
Thank you.
And because you were beardless a couple months back, weren't you? Or
Never.
Fairly beardless.
No.
Maybe
it was shorter.
It was shorter, much shorter.
I trim it down a lot.
It looked. I mean, in some pictures, it looked like it wasn't quite there. But it's back in its glory.
Yeah. Now, you know what? I don't know how Matt feels about this. Maybe this is sacrilegious to Matt. But I know there are women listeners, and they might want to smell like Rich Mullins too. Matt, can they smell like Rich Mullins too? It's up to Matt. It's up to his discretion. Nonetheless,
but those women could buy it as a gift for their significant other, or at least say they're buying it.
Ladies, do you want your man to smell like Rich Mullins? Do you want
Chris,
your man? Yes.
I never met Rich Mullins. You
Yes.
did on multiple occasions. Did you ever smell Rich Mullins?
I suppose I did. I was in his presence 3 times. One of those times in 1995. 2 of those times at the single Cornerstone Festival. I was kind of in his presence. I can't remember the smell. I can't remember. But here's what I'm going to guess. If you want to smell kind of like a vagabond that has wandered around the countryside, if you want to smell like old leather, if you want to smell like patchouli, if you want to smell like a suntanned man that knows that doesn't wear shoes, think about what somebody that doesn't wear shoes, what their feet smell like. Then you could buy St. Rich's beard oil.
This is the stuff.
Isn't this great? Isn't this appealing?
This is how you can still bathe and smell like a ragamuffin at the same time.
The smell of a ragamuffin. Perfect. Now, I didn't even mention the price. But it is $15 a bottle plus shipping, and it will go to a good cause. Remember, the money, any profits will go to Adore Ministries, and you can find St. Rich Beard Oil on Facebook. We will have links on our page, and there's actually going to be a page on the website, and actually a tab. You just click on St. Rich's Beard Oil.
We're not going to have a big flashing banner ad at the top.
No flashing, but it will be a separate tab. And actually, the whole story that I just read, which is a whole podcast episode unto itself.
By the way, which was hilarious. Again, as I mentioned, I've been wandering around the country for the last few weeks and just driving. We've done about 4,000 miles already. And I saw that come in, and I apologize, Matt. I had not read that. This is the first I'm actually hearing it.
Oh, good.
And that was epic.
Hopefully I channeled Matt's inner personality there a little bit. You could see it coming out in his writing. So Matt, thank you for writing the ad, and again, check out St. Rich Beard Oil. So, I think one of the more interesting things about all of this beard oil story is that this is not your life. This is not who you are. you've kind of found your way into making this beard oil. It was your idea, but actually, before we talk any about the beard oil, just let people know what it is that you actually do. What's your day job? It's not a boring day job. It's kind of actually pretty interesting.
So my first day job is I'm a stay-at-home dad to 6 kids under the age of 10.
That's true.
So whenever that's a pretty big one. I live in Houston, Texas, and my wife has a full-time job. So when I'm home, I get the kids up, I get them to school, and I watch the little ones that aren't in school during the day. So that's the job I'm the proudest of. But when I'm not home, I do have a kind of a cool other job, side job, and I run LED content, graphics content on LED walls, video screens for a lot of bands, but also for conferences, music festivals, corporate trainings, stuff like that. It's my job to make sure that the right thing is on the right screen at the right time. So I'm a video guy that gets to work with a lot of the people that I grew up listening to, and I don't know. I'm the guy that works long hours to make sure that the people on stage look good.
Yeah, you do. You're part of the team, so that the talent doesn't have to worry about anything. You're part of that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's what I do. That's what I do. If my day goes well, people in the audience just have an amazing experience, but nobody looks at me, which is really one of the cool things. I love that there's a very select number of people that know who I am and what I do. I love being able to walk through the lobby and nobody's going to stop me, and I can just go about my business and do my stuff and work in the shadows.
Yeah, that is actually kind of interesting. Yeah, you're working with some of these people that are somewhat high profile, at least some of the musicians. I'm okay with it. Why don't you name drop a little bit? Tell us some of the people that you've toured with or you've done production for.
Oh, boy. Christian music's a small world. So through one way or another, I've pretty much worked with everybody at one point in time. But the bands that I've spent the most time with are bands like Third Day, Stephen Curtis Chapman. Crowder is probably my biggest client. I've been with him since 2011. Gary Job, and I've worked a lot of Passion conferences, so a lot of the Passion artists like Tomlin and Matt Redman, people like that.
Yeah. So that's kind of neat. I think that gives us context. And maybe here's our segue into the beard oil. Have you worked with Andrew Peterson? Is that true?
I had never worked with Andrew Peterson until this past weekend.
Oh, okay. So I stand corrected. It was my first time.
I had never seen him live before this weekend. And it was very interesting. We knew each other just completely separate from the music. I knew who he was. I had people that had played with him. I'm friends with people that had played with him in his band for a long time, and actually it was one of them that had given him the beard oil, and he had blown the roof off of this whole inside joke and posted it for the public to see, and totally ruined our little secret. But I had never seen him play until the reunion show at the tribute show with the Ryman this past week.
Yeah. So the beard oil, like, this is silly, and you know it. You're not you're not going to be.
I'm not a beard oil maker. I'm not trying to make a business, man. This was I have a beard, and it is a beard which I am very proud of, and that a lot of people know me for. I made my own beard oil. It was a band I was working for. I gave it to them. They laughed because it was patchouli based and was sent, and said, "Man, this smells like Rich," with some other stuff involved. And so, just as a joke, I named it Saint Rich, and it's an inside joke that's gone horribly wrong. It spread. Everybody started wanting it. I spent 2 years trying to tell people it's not for sale, and they'd say, "Is it a real thing?" And it's like, well, yeah, it is a real thing, but it's not for sale, not for sale. I couldn't keep people away. The family's allowing me to sell it if I give it all the money away, which I gladly do. It's a passion project. It's something I have a lot of fun with, and other people seem to be enjoying it. So I'm gonna ride the wave for a little while and put some smile on some people's faces, and until I just can't keep up with demand anymore. I'm not sure how long it's gonna last, but it's fun for now.
Yeah, I remember a little while ago you were telling me that there's a phrase that kind of has come from our podcast that you're a bit miffed about. You're like, we said it captures the essence of Rich Mullins, and you're like, man, I didn't say that. I didn't come up with that.
I've heard you say, and then I heard Joe say in his interview with Eric Haupt, and it was spit back in my face this past weekend by both Andrew Peterson and Mitch McVicker that I claim that this beard oil is the essence of Rich Mullins, and I am here to say for the record, those words have never come out of my mouth, and this is an inside joke that's gone way too far, but I hope everybody enjoys it while it lasts.
You see, it's funny if Joe and I say that, but it's creepy if you say that, and that's just creepy.
Absolutely. And even during the show at the Ryman, Andrew was talking about the beard oil in it, and he had the rest of the crew dying laughing at my expense. And I was like, man, all right, you know what? Y'all have your laughs. I've got my beard oil.
But he announced it from the stage, right? That's correct, right?
Yeah, he talked about it. We had talked, months ago about making it available for sale at the show. Andrew wanted to make this show all about Rich. So he had told all of the guest artists that their merch would not be available for sale, that everything would be Rich related. So for the first time ever, I had to make beard oil and put it in a box and worry about getting it safe to Nashville, handing it over and doing accounting and all that fun stuff. The Ryman took a percentage off of the top. But yeah, man, I brought 37 bottles and we completely sold out. And I've been getting hit up nonstop by people since the show saying that they weren't able to get it at the Ryman and that they want a bottle. So I've got some work to do after we get off the phone. I've got some beard oil to make and some orders to send out.
Yeah, back to your third job. There you go.
The third job, the one which I don't make a single penny on, but do for the people because I'm all about the people.
One thing that's really that I love about the beard oil, other than the product itself, is the artwork. And we've talked a little bit about it, but quick question, Mike, tell us a little bit about the artist. I think it's a friend of yours, and is there actually two drawings that this guy did of Mullins? There's one that's really like an icon, and then is there two of them, or is there just one?
No. So this kind of starts from a church that from here in Houston. I got to know this artist, and he's a live painter, and so he paints during a church service. He has the ability to paint really fast and really beautifully, and so he will take whatever the pastor is preaching about, the message of the music. He'll tie it all together into one painting, which he will start at the very beginning of the service, and he'll be done with normally 10-15 minutes before the end of the service. And then the church normally will give the painting away or sell it to raise money for various causes, or he also encourages these churches to hang them on their walls. That art isn't something that happened in the Renaissance, that art happening within a community is evidence that God is breathing within that community. And so the first time I saw it, I wept. I was blown away at how beautiful this was. And over the years, we became pretty good friends. He's pretty well known. He has if you want to go on the old Googles and type his name in, his name's Scott Erickson, ERICKSON, ScottEricksonArt.com, I believe. And man, he's across the board. But he did this icon series for a while where he would do it was pop art. So he would take a stormtrooper and put a halo around him, or Harrison Ford as Han Solo and put a halo around him. And there was a book that came out, The Gospel According to Lost, which related all the characters from the TV show Lost into saints, and it would say, Saint John Locke, the patron saint of the fatherless, or all kinds of stuff like that. And I have a couple of those original paintings from the Lost series. I remember one Sunday at that church, I was working and doing some video stuff for them. They did a Sunday on Celtic hospitality, and so he did a couple of icons during church services of St. Patrick. So I have a St. Patrick one hanging on my wall. So I knew exactly who to call when this inside joke started taking a turn for the worse, and we decided to make a painting and a label and all this stuff. And man, he nailed it. He did a painting of Saint Rich, patron saint of the Ragamuffins, with a beard and a halo. Total pop art. You know, we're not trying to canonize Rich. We're not trying to turn him into a saint. We do believe that he's the patron saint of us Ragamuffins. You know, that he showed us this beauty of the Ragamuffin gospel that Brennan so eloquently wrote about. That Rich did a job to introduce it to a wider audience and live that out for all of us to see. And so we made this painting, Saint Rich, patron saint of the Ragamuffins. There's only one painting, but out of that painting we created the label.
Okay.
So the label was made off of the painting. You know, it took the colors and turned it into black and white.
There you go.
And we turned it into a label.
Okay. Oh, very cool. It's cool to hear some of the backstory, and I'll make sure to put the link up to Scott's website. So that's great.
Awesome.
Give us now, take us back to how you got invited to this event, and I think it's interesting for people to know that it's not just Andrew Peterson's concert that you were part of, but there was something that happened the day before that you were also invited to. Give us a peek into what kind of gathering you were there for.
Sure. We'll start with how I was invited. I basically invited myself, to be completely honest. I heard the Rich event was happening, that Andrew was doing a Rich event. I knew Andrew because of the beard oil. I also know Andrew's manager, Christy Bragg. She is the wife of a good friend of mine named Todd Bragg. Now, Todd used to play in the group Caedmon's Call, but currently he plays percussion for the band Crowder. And I've toured with Todd, and he's a very close friend of mine. Every time I'm in Nashville, I go two places. I go to Todd's house, and I go to Rich's old house just outside of Nashville and hang out with Connie, who lives there. But Todd, I called Todd, and I said, dude, I'm in on this show. I'm going. You better put me to work. So Todd laughed and said, hey, dude, all right, I'll talk to my wife. She'll get back with you. So he talked to his wife, Christy, who was basically putting on the entire show for Andrew. And, she said, absolutely, we'd be thrilled if you were a part of it. So I booked my ticket for a day early, just thinking that I would get in case we had any rehearsals or anything. And I found out there were no real rehearsals. And so I called Connie, who's the lady that lives at Rich's old house, and I said, hey, Connie, have you heard there's going to be a show for Rich, a tribute show at the Ryman? She goes, yeah, I have heard. And as a matter of fact, there's a party at my house, at Rich's house, on Saturday with his friends and family. You have got to come. I was like, wow, really? Well, actually, I will be there for that, so I'm in. And so Connie reached out to David McCracken. David McCracken was an old friend of Rich's and worked with him when he lived in Nashville and beyond. And David was putting on an event for the entire weekend. They were calling it the September to Remember weekend. And David reached out for me. I had never talked to David. He was incredibly gracious. Said, hey, Connie is here. She wants me to invite you to this deal. We're having a party, basically the entire weekend, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. So I said, absolutely, I will be there. Naturally, I'm an introvert, and I was like, I'm bringing a couple friends with me. So I had a couple musicians who knew Rich, that recorded with Rich, that wrote songs with Rich, that are friends of mine that I could bring just kind of as, third wheels so that I wouldn't be awkward with people I didn't know, both of whom canceled the day before and left me all alone. But it was a super cool deal.
One of the things that I think people will be fascinated by is you actually were able to go to somewhat of an iconic place that's really close to the house. Tell us about the famous Mullins picture where you were able to like see where it was taken at.
Sure. So the first thing on Saturday was they had a lunch, and they had a lunch. It's kind of like a late afternoon lunch, and it was at the Riverview Restaurant Marina in Ashland City. And cool place. You know, we all gathered. It was kind of the launching point for what was to happen next, which was we were going to go to Rich's old house, have a bonfire, just kind of hang out. It was reminiscent of the old birthday parties he used to throw at his party, where everybody was invited, and those parties are legendary. People still talk about them to this day. And it was going to be kind of the first one in 20 years, you know. So that was going to be happening at his house. But before then, to take care of the food aspect, we were going to eat at a restaurant 6-7 miles down the road. In between the restaurant and Rich's house is a place called it's called the Bluff Creek Launch Ramp. And if you remember the book, The World as Best as I Remember It, Ben Pearson took an awesome picture of Rich out on, it's kind of like a little boat dock. I guess it's called a launch ramp. It's the Bluff Creek launch ramp of Rich just kind of looking down. I don't know if he's looking at his feet or if he's looking at the water. It's just a really cool black and white photo. But the spot of that photo is in between the restaurant and Rich's house. So I, stopped by there and I think I FaceTimed you from there just to show you. I figured you'd get a kick out of it. And you're at a wedding and weren't really interested, but I tried.
You know what? I was having somewhat fun at the wedding, but it was kind of boring too. So no, I appreciated the call. It was cool. It was good.
Awesome.
Anything else that happened at the party that, I don't know, that was just special? I think it's interesting. There's kind of two groups. There are the fanboys that are of our generation, where we're just like, we just love talking about Mullins as fans. But then there's the people that actually knew him, and so you were hanging around people that were like with him. What was that like? And what can you share from that?
It was cool. There's a lot of people that were there that are people that over the years I've communicated with. We've never met. People like Kathy Sprinkle and Beth Lutz, Sam Howard, those friends of his from college. We finally got to meet for the first time, spend some time together. It was awesome. There's a whole other group of people there that were people that have been attending the Ragamuffin or walking stick retreats. This, I think, was basically a party for them that I crashed. And it was nice, I sat down on Rich's porch for 2 hours and talked to Beth Lutz just about all kinds of stuff. And then, as the night wore on, as the crowd started to thin, Steve Cudworth showed up, who lives at that house with Rich, and Connie introduced us, and we sat down, and musicians and crew guys, we just get along. We speak the same language, and Steve and I hit it off, and we sat down and we talked the night away. His wife and his son were there, and we sat around, we talked, we played with these lasers I have that are probably not legal in the United States, but are stinking awesome. We spent the night just enjoying company, and made some new friends. It was beautiful. It was a great night. I think that everybody that went there had a great time. For a lot of people, it's the first time over at Rich's house. They've seen it in the Ragamuffin movie, or they've seen pictures. There's a picture on an old CCM magazine cover on that porch. So I think for a lot of people, it was really cool for them to see that house for the first time. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm a little spoiled. I go hang out there every time I'm in Nashville. The lady that lives there she's just the coolest lady. Yeah. And so I really enjoyed just the time with other people at New Rich.
Now, one thing that people maybe are curious about, or maybe they some people know about this and they don't. Some people don't. Is the chapel that there's a chapel that people think that Jesus demos were recorded in, but they weren't. But it is the chapel that are on the pictures of the Jesus record. Is that correct? And that chapel's no longer there.
Yeah, that was torn. Somebody purchased the land, I believe, back in around 2006, and they tore down the church in the middle of the night. They had promised people they wouldn't tear it down, and then they tore it down. And it's basically, there's a house there now. The white fence kind of leading up to it is still the same. But yeah, the church is no more. Hilarious story where Connie, the lady that lives in Rich's house, and David McCracken went and took the old doors before it could get completely hauled away. Saved as much of it as they could. But yeah, the church is gone, and that's a sad story. I would have loved to have gone in there and said a prayer or two.
Yeah. So take us into the next night, and actually, you might actually give us some context of who Dave McCracken is. He's a name that comes up quite frequently, but he actually features in the new Winds of Heaven, Stuff of Earth book by Andrew Greer. But I think he is definitely flying under the radar a little bit. People don't exactly know who he is, but tell us the connection that he has with Mullins.
Him and Rich were close. David lives in Ashland City, which is close to where Rich's house was. I don't remember if David worked for the record label, or I don't remember if he worked for Reunion or for... He had to have worked for Reunion. Yeah. He and Marina Minor started the same day, I found out. Okay. They started working the same day. And Marina ended up being Rich's tour manager for a while. Took a lot of those pictures on his porch and stuff like that. And David and him hit it off real well. I don't know the whole story. So, but what I found out about him is Rich's death hit him really hard, and he kind of shut down for a while. And it wasn't until the movie came out that he went and saw it alone. He drove like 2 hours to go see it somewhere other than Nashville, and be alone where nobody knew who he was. And it opened his heart, and he started healing a lot. And he's kind of dove back in. I know that Andrew Greer, I think, saw some of Rich's journals that David has. They call him the mayor. So Kathy and Kathy Sprinkle, Beth Lutz, Sam Howard, the Walking Stick team, David, they all call him the mayor because he just runs the show. But he does it out of love. It's amazing to see. Like even at the he put this entire weekend together. Not the concert part, but everything around the concert he put together. And he did it so he never stopped moving. He never he went out of his way to introduce people that didn't know each other. That, like me, man, I didn't know anybody there. He kept bringing people over to me and introducing me. And I mean, he was going out of his way to be the most amazing host you could imagine, and just trying to find anybody. He reminded me of a really good youth minister that would find a teenager over in the corner that had nobody talking to them, and to go get them and find them a place to belong. That's what David was. And honestly, I don't see adults doing that with other adults. I don't know if I've ever seen that. It was it was amazing to watch him be hospitable. I don't know if I've ever seen somebody do it better. That's why I didn't get enough personal time with David because of that. Because that's what he was doing. He was going, and he was doing everything he could to include everybody and make everybody feel welcome. But I know that next time I'm in Nashville, him and I are going to get together, and I can't wait to get to know him better.
Oh, that's cool. So take us into the next day. Obviously, you're really, really busy on the production side of things. But what are some of the things? What are some of the stories you can share? And also, give us some insights into the actual concert itself. The lineup and who were some of the players?
Awesome. Yeah. So my day started. I had to be there at 8 a.m. for load in. We started bringing stuff in. I found out there was going to be some video. I wasn't sure if there was or wasn't going to be video. If I was going to be helping out more with the sound guy, more with the lighting guy. Turned out there was a last-minute decision to play 2 videos during the concert. There was a compassion video which is really cool. They found an old Compassion video that Rich had done, and then they got a video of Steve Stockman talking about Rich staying at his house, 78 Eatonwood Green, the way that the song came about.
The Irish guy.
It became my job for the day. Oh yeah, he was great. The video is really cool. So my job for the day became to hang a projector screen from a pole that we would fly in when it was time to play the video, to set up a projector, get it ready to run, which is honestly not too difficult of a job. It was probably the easiest job I've ever had, which gave me a lot of time to hang out, which honestly was really cool. At about 11, the band started showing up and started setting up their individual rigs, so all the people that would be a part of the house band started showing up. Around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, all the special guests started showing up. Andrew showed up a little before lunch, and I remember we hung out in his dressing room just telling stories. Man, it was such an amazing day. All the guest artists that came in. Before the show, we just hung out, man. People wanted to tell stories. I overheard, I'm not going to say any names, I overheard one artist who's really well known just telling Andrew this was one of the top 5 concerts he's ever been a part of, and just thanked him profusely for including him. And while that was the attitude of the people that were invited, I know a lot of artists that felt a little left out, that they weren't invited. But at the end of the day, what I told them is, man, if Andrew had included everybody that knew Rich and everybody that had played with Rich at some point during his career, the concert would have been 9 weeks long. He knew so many people across so many mediums, and at the end of the day, this was Andrew's tribute concert, and he wanted to do the best that he could to honor Rich's music, and to do so, he picked the people closest to him. And so in the midst of that, I know that some artists felt a little left out. If you're an outsider looking in and you didn't see certain names, you're like, well, why didn't that person? They should have absolutely got invited. But it's a tightrope. You got to do the best you can to get to the other side. And so Andrew leaned heavily on the musicians that he was familiar with. Oddly enough, me, never having seen Andrew or having worked with Andrew before this show, I wasn't familiar with pretty much, I was familiar with 2 of the musicians in his lineup. 2.
Yeah.
And they're because I've toured with them on Crowder, the cello player, and Todd, who was playing percussion.
Oh, okay.
Outside of that, everybody else were people that are going to be very familiar to Andrew Peterson fans. They weren't familiar to me. They wouldn't be familiar to necessarily Rich Mullins fans, but they did an amazing job. They were. I'll go ahead and kind of rattle off some of it. As I think some people heard, the idea was that this concert would be a lot like the Andrew Peterson Behold the Lamb of God concert.
Yeah.
So basically, he has guest musicians with him. During the first part of the show, each one of those guest musicians will play a different song as a way to introduce themselves to the audience, and then they go into the portion of the concert that is they want to show everybody. So for this one, the first part of the concert was going to be different artists and guest artists playing Rich Mullins songs that they liked outside of the main portion. So the whole idea for the concert was that they would play a Liturgy of Legacy and a Ragamuffin Band, note for note. Reed Arvin was a part of it, who produced the album for Rich, produced a lot of albums for Rich, and he brought back his original orchestral scores. So he really helped get the band together and make sure everybody was playing the right stuff. He even made a surprise appearance on piano during the song Creed. And then it was up to Andrew's band to pull it off. And his band leader is a guy named Ben Shive. He played piano, but he was kind of in charge of everything. And man, he was incredible. He blew me away. I had never heard him before, and I left a fan.
I'm pretty sure he
Peterson
produces a lot of Peterson's records. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I've heard he's a producer.
Yeah.
I was unfamiliar with him.
Yeah.
Just Andrew's. These people in Andrew's company just aren't my normal line of clients, I guess you could say. So they're a little bit out of my knowledge. But man, they're all incredible. I'm not going to sit here and tell you about how awesome each one was, but together as a collective, they nailed it. You had Matt Pearson playing bass. I did know Matt. I've done some other stuff with Matt, but Matt actually played. It turns out I heard the story that he played bass on Liturgy Legacy Ragamuffin Band, even though he wasn't credited for doing it. That after everything was done, they needed a few more things, and they brought Matt Pearson in to record some overdubs on bass. So he was actually on the record. And he played at the tribute concert, which I thought was awesome. We had Dave Cleveland on guitars. Dave I've worked with before. Man, I'm forgetting about these people that I had worked with before. But I'd worked with Dave before, and he was playing all kinds of guitars. He was playing electric. He was playing acoustic. He was playing. I think I caught him playing mandolin. So he's kind of all over the place on that. Paul Ekberg played drums. I wasn't familiar with him. He did an amazing job. Gabe Scott's the real deal. If you've never seen Gabe Scott, you Google him. You go find him playing hammer dulcimer. He played hammer dulcimer, lap dulcimer, accordion. He kind of played all the little weird instruments that Rich would normally play. He took all of those, and man, he's unbelievable. He was out with us on Crowder for a time, and he's an incredible musician, one of the best I've ever seen. And when he sets his mind to accomplish something, he's going to do it, and he did it. He nailed it. There are two percussion guys, Garrett Buell and Todd Bragg, both of whom were in Caedmon's Call. Garrett was the lead percussion guy, and Todd hopped in on, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 songs. They had Skip Clevenger there, who played the Irish whistle, the bagpipes. He was really good, and he was really funny too. And then the kind of the front line of players was Andrew Peterson on guitar and vocals, Andrew Senga on guitar and vocals, Andy Gullahorn on guitar and vocals, and Jill Phillips on vocals. So that was kind of the house band, aside from any special guests. They pretty much were, anytime there was a group stuff or anytime any of the special guests needed a band, they were the backing band.
Yeah, I think it was cool watching one of the videos that people had put up online. There's no official video, that people have streamed it from their phones, but it was really neat to be able to see the tin whistle on the color green. Like usually, whenever Mullins would play it live, it wouldn't have the actual flute tin whistle on there. It would just be played with another part, like Jimmy Abegg would play the mandolin or something like that. So it was kind of cool to hear some of the authentic sounds for the concert.
Oh, the authentic sounds, man! Tell me about it. One of the most amazing things was during rehearsal, none of the guest artists went back to their dressing rooms. Normally, you come out, you sing your song, you kind of go back, you do your own thing. Everybody's doing their own thing, but here during rehearsals, every single artist was standing side stage. Most people had their phones out. Some of them were crying. I was standing next to Reed Arvid for a good portion of the rehearsals, and man, when they did 5210 from the Liturgy album, it was unbelievable. And I came to find out later that was the first time that song had ever been played in its entirety by a full band. When they had tracked it, when they had recorded it in the studio, it was done in pieces. So, the orchestra would come in and do the orchestra part, and then, rhythm would come in and do the rhythm part, and vocals would come in and do vocals. When they played that song together, it was the first time in history that the entire note-for-note performance of that song had been played live at the same time by a live band. And it was very emotional to see it be birthed in a new way. So, it was something else to be a part of, and I think that everybody that was there for the actual show could echo those sentiments. To be able to hear all of these things that you've heard coming through the speakers of your car, or on your computer, however it is that you listen to music, to be able to hear all those things be played at the same time, and it sounded like the recording. It sounded exactly like the recording, but it was no tracks. It was just being played live. Was really amazing.
Yeah, I think for me, there's something really conflicting about all of it, right? It's we have the music in our head from years of listening. Hundreds of times, some of us have heard these songs, and so it's conflicting because at one time I want to hear this concert. I was jealous that I wasn't able to be there. At the same time, I don't like having my memories messed with. So there's this conflict inside
Absolutely.
of me. Yeah.
Well, see, there were. Once again, I'm not going to go into names, but there are artists that I knew that were really apprehensive about going to the show. They were worried that it would be done subpar, that they would show up and it would not be up to Rich's standards, that it would not pass the sniff test. And I got that. I understood that, especially from people that played with Rich. People that had spent one-on-one time with Rich learning parts. They were worried those parts would get cut out because it would be easier. The things that Rich took very seriously, that other people wouldn't take those as seriously. I tried my best before the concert to calm those fears, and after the concert, I can tell you that they had a big smile on their face and said, "Wow, that was." I was like, "You good? You good now?" Absolutely. That was amazing.
Yeah, some CCM royalty showed up, didn't they? As audience members.
They did. Some of the people that from the outside looking in, you would have thought would have been included on stage. Maybe they weren't, but it was amazing the people that showed up unannounced. Amy Grant was sitting in the balcony at the Ryman watching a show. How often does that happen? I bumped into Steve Taylor. I didn't see him, but I heard Phil Madera was there. Rick Elias was there. I saw someone like Ed Cash that Rich fans might not know, but if you know who Chris Tomlin is, Ed Cash produces his records, co-writes songs with him. Ed Cash produced the last Crowder record. I mean,
Caveman's Call. Ed Cash did a Caveman's Call record back in the day too. So
it's amazing. A lot of people don't know who he was, but it's my understanding Ed just doesn't show up to go to shows. A lot of us that work in the music business, we don't go to shows. When I have friends coming through Houston on tour, they might be playing the Toyota Center in front of 20,000 people, and I could get a free ticket. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go before the show and hang out and leave before all the people get there.
Yeah, right.
I'm not trying to watch another show. I do it so often. So for these people to spend time to show up to watch this show, to not have any skin in the game other than they went to honor Rich and even be in the audience in order to do it, to me spoke volumes about what Nashville thinks of him.
I'm curious, did you get a chance to talk with Reed Arvin at all, or was he just kind of off in the shadows?
He was not in the shadows. He was kind of out and about. I personally didn't talk to him.
Yeah.
I don't know him. And like I said, man, I'm an introvert. I kind of struggle introducing myself to people. So I didn't really talk to him. We were standing side by side a lot of times. Pre-show, we had this beautiful prayer and toast of Rich up in one of the dressing rooms, and I was standing right next to Reed during that. But I never introduced myself. I was just I was floored to be standing with him there on that night.
Yeah. Now, you told me that you got a chance to talk to Dave Mullins about the beard oil and able to give him a bottle. Tell us that story.
So, well, I mean, Dave and I go back to 2002. I was a young youth minister. I was probably 21 years old, and I had this great idea to create an all-day Christian music festival, outdoor Christian music festival. It turned into a Rich Mullins tribute, 5-year tribute on the anniversary of his death. And I had David Mullins out, I had Mitch McVicker out, had a lot of other bands out. And, of course, that weekend, a tropical storm decided to come through Houston, and it was a disaster. It was awesome. It was a disaster. And so we hadn't really seen each other since then. And I'd emailed him about the beard oil, kind of told him the story, and I got his approval for it, but he hadn't put two and two together that we had met before. So Saturday before the concert when we saw each other, I kind of reminded him of who I was and that we had met before, and he died laughing. He couldn't believe. He's like, man, it never occurred to me. I knew your name was familiar. So then, we got along great. He's awesome, and but he still hadn't asked for a bottle. And the funny thing is when I met him in 2002, he had a beard and I didn't. And I found that picture and showed it to him, and it was even better because now he's clean shaven, and I'm not. I'm the exact opposite. But so he comes up to me. There was an after party. Yeah, there was an after party after the show that David McCracken put together at Poncho and Lefties, which is about a block away from the Ryman. They normally close at 10, but they decided to stay open for us. One of the ladies that worked there was a huge Rich Mullins fan, as you. Of course, that's the way it works, and was honored to be able to host everybody. Every single band member went to the after party once they were able to load out their stuff. The crew members went, and so it was, it was cast and crew and friends and family. It was just a really cool time for everybody to, at the end of the night, just spend time together. And David approached me and says, "Man, I got to get some of this beard oil." I was like, "Oh wow, I don't have any with me. We had just sold out, completely sold out over at the Ryman, which was awesome. But I always carry a personal little box just in case, because the backstory is I just used to give it away for free. So I always got my freebies with me that I'll give out to people. So I was like, it's in my car. I'll go get it and bring it back." So I go get it and I bring it back, and his wife actually approaches me, and we're talking and catching up. And I told her that David had asked for a bottle of beard oil, and she said, "No, he's not allowed to have one." I was like, "What?" She said, "Yeah, he can't have a beard. He's not allowed to have a beard. Don't you dare give him that bottle." And I just laughed. I was like, "Well, I'm going to give it to him, and you two work that out. Y'all have fun." And so then I go and I give it to him, and she just looks, man, her look could have cut a hole right through me. Sorry, Robin, had to do it. So he gets the bottle, and he's standing there, and his wife's like, you can't have that. You're not growing a beard. And, he gave him one of those looks from what movie was that? Billy Madison, where he says, "Don't tell me my business, devil woman." He gave her that look, and he gave the bottle to his daughter. And I was like, "Here, can you put this in your purse?" And she opened it, and she smelled it, and she said, "This smells disgusting." So I got that going for me, that Rich's niece thinks that St. Rich beard oil smells disgusting.
Yeah.
A lot of other people like it, so pick your poison. And, yeah, man, I gave, a lot of people wanted a bottle, so we were able to get everybody one that wanted one in terms of, guest artists and stuff like that.
Well, that's cool. So you mentioned that Peterson, he chose to work with people that he was comfortable with, and along with that, there were a number of artists that sang individual songs, or maybe they sang, two songs during the night. Again, like these artists were, I would say, of the next generation. And some of the artists I wasn't even familiar with. Like I'm somewhat up on the whole CCM industry, I guess. I guess I'm not as much as I used to be. But there were some artists that I was like, I have no idea who that is. But then there were a few that were more of the indie folk artists like Jeremy Casella that I'm really familiar with. So anyway, yeah, who were some of the people that were there leading some of the
Yeah,
individual songs.
There was Jeremy Casella, who I honestly wasn't familiar with.
Yeah.
He did great. There's a duo called Finnegan Bell that Andrew had met about probably back in early 2000s, I think he said, and they all bonded over their common admiration of Rich and his music. So he brought them in. They were incredible. Leah Nash, who was in the band Sixpence None the Richer and who voiced a couple of the songs on the Canticle soundtrack. She sang. Brandon Heath. A lot of CCM people will recognize that name. Brandon, and Brandon was one of those guys that was just standing side stage, heart full. He was great, and he was really excited to be there. Mitch McVicker was there. I think we all know Mitch. He sang one song for the entire night, and it was Bound to Come Some Trouble, and it had a lump in my throat. It was beautiful, and I think that he really felt it on another level, and he showed it. He wore that song in his sleeve. So if you can find a video of that online somewhere, go watch that. Matt Giroux, who I believe was on American Idol recently. I think that's what somebody told me. And then Andrew's daughter, Sky, sang vocals towards the end for Step by Step. And then the big thing for the night that was going to happen, that was going to be super cool, was Caedmon's Call. We're going to have a reunion and sing I Will Sing, Hope to Carry On. Unfortunately, there was a death in their family. None of the band members died, but a family member of one of the band members died, and they weren't able to end up being there. Unfortunately, it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, that's too bad. One thing I think people are curious about, because videos had cropped up online, and there was a couple of the songs that Peterson himself streamed. The question is, has the concert been recorded? Will there ever be a release of it? I think people are really curious about that.
There wasn't. There was no professional recording done. I know that they started doing a Facebook Live side stage. Before they knew it, their feed had jumped to several hundred. And so their plan to live stream 2 songs turned into the entire show. But I know that post has also been taken down, and the quality wouldn't have been what it's a cell phone. It's like what you can watch on YouTube if you go watch anybody else's. So there was no professional camera crew there. There was no professional recording made, unfortunately.
Yeah, and so it goes. Yeah, it's too complicated. I mean, I guess they could have done a professional release, but that would have taken a lot of wrangling the copyright issues. So
wrangling copyright issues, but also it's just not cheap to professionally film a show. You know, you're not just bringing in one person; you're bringing in an entire crew, an entire setup of cameras. I do that all the time. It's a big ordeal, and it's not cheap. And also, you have to deal with Ryman copyright issues. Actually, they're very stern with what you're able to record and what you're not. In all of the dressing rooms in the production office, there's a big sign saying what you can and can't do, and what you can and can't show. So there's, as with anything, man, legalities just mess it all up.
It's the world we live in. Well, Matt, thanks for your time, and I hope people enjoyed getting to know the guy behind the beard oil a little bit, and also thanks for being the Rich Mullins Between the Songs field reporter. You're like our on the ground journalist, front lines here.
Oh yeah, I love it.
All right, man. Well, thanks.
Yeah, dude, you got it.
So there you have Matt Walden. I hope you enjoyed it. I think for those of us that weren't at Andrew Peterson's show, that it's great to have a behind the scenes look. We want to know what goes on in an event like that, and how do they put that on. And there's obviously some famous CCM artists there, and Reed Arvin was there, and so just the whole event was just shrouded in this kind of this aura of this awe that we wanted to be there even if we couldn't. So what did you think, Joe?
Yeah, I got to say we totally dropped the ball on this one. We're the Raga Media, and we weren't there.
I know, we should have been on site, right, reporting ourselves. We should have been streaming the live videos. Oh well.
We're very thankful that Matt Walden could be our correspondent for the event.
That's exactly, yes. Matt Walden was the correspondent, the Raga Media correspondent.
Our inside man.
Yeah, that's right. So just to close out here, we are hard at work, or at least we're trying to wrap our minds around being hard at work, getting our next full episode up. Our next full episode is the Rich Mullins self-titled album, his first proper studio album, the first Nashville album. It's the Yellow album. It's just called Rich Mullins. And so we'll be hard at work over the next month or so trying to get that out to you. But before that, we do have some other bonus stuff. Joe, what do you want to share about our next bonus episode that's coming up?
Mark Robertson is going to come on the program with us. He's got a new band called Prayer Flags, and they've got an album that's releasing. And he's going to, aside from talking about the new album, which we're going to discuss, we're also going to talk about Rich and his work with Rich and kind of his story, kind of get his story of and it's all like pieces of a puzzle that we're just kind of putting together very, very slowly. And I'm hoping that by the end of this series of Rich Mullins Between the Songs, that we've assembled, a photograph. I hope that, the full picture is there on display.
Maybe an encyclopedia, even, of Mullins.
Maybe.
So there you go. Thanks again for listening to Rich Mullins Between the Songs podcast. There's a lot to look forward to in the coming weeks and coming months. And thanks for joining us, and we appreciate everybody listening in and joining us in this very special year where we are looking back on the life of Mullins. And there's much to look forward to in the albums to come. Thanks very much. Bye.